So you want to learn about this guy? Well, today we're going to be going through basically everything you need to know about him. The ace specs, the deck lists, how to play him, what to do, if the deck's actually good. That's 5 things so far. So yeah, stay tuned. So Zoroark is a deck that, in my opinion, is disrespected, right? The guy's good, but that's about it. The guy's good, right? And if you're not named Piper Lapine or Liam Halliburton, you might be thinking, how do I play this deck? It's not an easy deck to play, right? It's not a point-and-click adventure game unlike some other decks. So how do we build this deck? There's no perfect list, and that's because of a few things. One, Zoroark is incredibly inconsistent. So the deck needs a balance of consistency cards and tech cards. So what are consistency cards? First off, consistency cards are cards that you use basically every game. They're cards that help you play the game, such as Buddy Poffin, which helps you find Zoro, such as Lily's Determination, which lets you see cards. Usually it's not energy cards, but it's cards, right? Those are the consistency cards. So usually we do want things like 4 of Buddy Poffins and 4 of Lilies. So even though a lot of the times in games we will only be using, let's say, 1 Buddy Poffin, because we don't really need that many Zoroarks in play. We usually want 3, right? And if we start with a Zoroark and we play 1 Buddy Poffin to get 2 more Zoroarks, the rest of the 3 Buddy Poffins aren't very good, right? So why would we play 4? Well, we'll get to that later. I'm glad you asked, Jerry. Good question. Anyway, cards like Lily's Determination, obviously they let us play the game. Those are the lifeblood of the deck, you know, because those are just really good, right? Every deck runs Lilies. Like, even if you don't need to run Lilies, you run Lily. It's a great card. Lets you see 8 cards in the beginning of the game, or lets you see 6 towards the end of the game, and it's really good. But it's not something that we use very often. That's because we have another one called Cyrano, and Cyrano is a card that lets us get 3 EXs, right? So there's no more TM Evo. Zoroark used to like TM Evo at times because it just helps you find Zoroarks, and sometimes that's a problem, right? Just not having Zoroarks. If you found your Buddy Poffin, you've got your Zoroas, but no Zoroarks, so that's a problem. Well, Cyrano looks to kind of fix that thing, you know. It helps you look for 3 EXs. Usually it's 2 Zoroarks and like a Pekarant, or just 3 Zoroarks, right? Sometimes that's just all you need to get going, and you get going once you find that card. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's talk about the general idea of the deck. What is Zoroark's identity, right? We see a lot of different decks trying to find identities right now. In pre-rotation, Zoroark kind of knew its identity. It was an aggressive deck with good comeback mechanics, right? You had Countercatcher, you had Iono, and you had some pretty decent comeback mechanics with your Darmanitan. You could Countercatcher up something, get it stuck and arm stuff, right? But nowadays, Countercatcher's gone, Iono's gone, Disruption's not great, and we're barely not even running Unfair Stamp, right? And the Ace spec is a really contested spot in the deck. The Ace spec is, you know, something that every deck runs. It's usually the most powerful card in the deck. You know, that's why you can only run 1 pink card, right? So it's basically, do you play Unfair Stamp, do you play Hero's Cape, or do you play Super Scoop Up? Those are the 3 that, in my opinion, have a spot, but one of them is definitely fraudulent, and that is Unfair Stamp. I think Unfair Stamp just isn't good. I think Zoroark is just an inherently aggressive deck right now, and if you're able to set up your board and be able to take the first 2 prizes, usually you just win the game, right? That's something that is really important for Zoroark, to get aggressive and get ahead at times, right? But Hero's Cape is something that can help you stay ahead, or let you get ahead from a position that you were behind in. A 300 HP Zoroark is no joke. There's not many decks that can hit up for 300 HP, right? Goldengo's dead. That can't do that no more, right? God of War Monkey Dory spam plus balloon burst to blow up your Zoroark like it's a fucking Mossad agent. That doesn't matter anymore. You can't do that, dude, right? That's just not something that happens anymore. So it's pretty good that you have a lot of HP, because the only decks that can really hit up to those numbers have to try really hard, right? And usually have to use a lot of resources. For example, Lucario. Lucario can deal 270 damage, right? That misses by 110 damage. If they don't play Hero's Cape and they want to one-shot your Zoroark, they need all 4 Premium Power Pros, and they're not finding all 4 Premium Power Pros in one turn. No chance. And if they do, call a judge, right? They're cheating. And if they play Max Belt, they still need 2 Premium Power Pros. No, sorry, they need 2 Premium Power Pros. The math was correct. They need 2 Premium Powers. Which, look, a Max Belt plus 2 Premium Power Pros is still a 3-card combo. It's not that easy to hit. So, against matchups that, like, one-shot you before, like Garchomp one-shots you kind of easily as well, it just makes the matchup winnable. And that's something that we really want to see as Zoroark, more winnable matchups. Because it feels right now that, and you look at the format, and it's like Rocket's Mewtwo, loss. Garchomp, loss. Lucario, loss. Festival Lead, domestic terrorism. And a lot of these matchups are really not great, right? That's something that, you know, the Pokemon trading card game has always had, variance in matchups, right? You've had decks that have been really good against specific decks and really bad against others, right? Unless your name is Dragapult EX, then you just beat everything, but we're not Dragapult. Actually, you don't beat everything, because you don't beat Zoroark. And that's something that, you know, takes Zoroark to greater heights. Zoroark beats Dragapult. Dragapult being the best deck in the game right now, basically everywhere. Having like a 30% meta share over in Prague at the first post-rotation tournament. It is broken. It is all... it's a big guy. The dude's everywhere, right? He's moving like an invasive species. It's like the Black Plague in England back in whenever the Black Plague was. It was spreading, right? Damage counters. Fucking got him. So... Zoroark beats that, but it loses to a lot of other decks, and that's what Hero's Cape tries to fix. It tries to fix those bad matchups that, you know, one-shot you, because you are weak to grass, and grass right now is a pretty prevalent weakness, and not a great weakness to have, right? And with Garchomp on the rise as well, more grass decks are going to keep popping up, but I don't think that's a big problem for Zoroark, because there's not a lot of grass decks other than Venusaur, which we can't deal with really easily. Like, Teal Mask Ogerpon is one-shot. Like, we can just one-shot that thing, right? And it one-shots us back, but we don't really care. If we're trading 2-2-2-2-2, as long as we're the person who took the first two, we were chilling, right? We're chilling. And our Bolivar, we can one-shot that just like it's a 320 HP Pokemon for everyone else, right? We one-shot like we one-shot Dragapult, we one-shot it with Black Belt's Training and Mochi and stuff like that. So we can already deal with that Pokemon. And it doesn't even one-shot us with its first attack, because its first attack doesn't imply weakness. So it's like, it's not that big of a threat. But the threat is these other grass decks that can like tech these, you know, Pokemon in. For example, Iron Leaves. Iron Leaves is not a great card for us because it can come out of nowhere and blow us up. We don't like that. However, with Hero's Cape, it can't blow us up because it's dealing 360 damage, meaning we're surviving by 20 HP. And just surviving is the biggest part there, because it means we have that bit of a safety net to live for a little bit longer. Also, decks that try and set up these more checkmate scenarios, such as Grimmsnarl, or Starmie, or Dragapult. Hero's Cape also helps against them, because it messes up their math. And that is Zoroark's identity. Right now, it is making the game as difficult for your opponent as possible. And you have a lot of ways to do that, right? The first one being your, you know, A-spec choice, which in my opinion the best one is the Hero's Cape or the Scoop Up Cyclone, because both of them are kind of in the same region of disrupting your opponent's, like, board. Like, kind of like disrupting how they want to play against you. Unfair Stamp disrupts their hand, but a lot of decks just have built-in draw engines right now, and it doesn't really hurt them that much, and it's very situational. You have to play it after they take a knockout. But what happens if I don't want to let them take a knockout? What happens if I only have one Zoroark in play and want to keep him in play? Don't want to let him just die. Well, that's, you know, where the dude comes in, the Hero's Cape and a Scoop Up Cyclone. Scoop Up Cyclone can take stuff out of play, which is quite nice. Like, for example, if you start a Peckrunt or you don't want Peckrunt in play anymore, yoink, it's gone, right? Or Zoroark, it got hit by a Dragapult. Next turn you don't really want it to take more damage, yoink, it's gone. But the Hero's Cape kind of helps against these decks that, you know, I would say it gives your opponent more options, which means it means your opponent has more room to make mistakes, right? If I have a 300 HP Zoroark, 380 HP Zoroark, and they hit into it for like 200 damage, I'm one-shotting whatever's in my opponent's active position, right? Because of Powerful Rage. And I think that's where the Hero's Cape really ties it all together for me. It works well with existing cards in the deck, because Reshiram does a lot of damage if you have a lot of damage on you. And Hero's Cape helps with that, whereas the other one, the Scoop Up Cyclone, it doesn't want that much damage on it, right? It kind of goes against Reshiram. So, and in my opinion, I'm a Reshiram lover. If you play Hero's Cape, if you play Reshiram, you probably want to play Hero's Cape. If you don't play Reshiram like Piper Lapine, then you probably want to play Scoop Up Cyclone. And that's like a fork in the road. And that's why I love Zoroark, because there's so many options, right? And then there's like the third more neglected child, which is Unfair Stamp. And we're not really going to be talking about Unfair Stamp in this video, because I just don't think it's the correct way to play it, and it's just not a great card. And also in like 2 weeks when the new Greninja set comes out, we're going to have Red Card, right? Which is just better. It's a non-A-spec Red Card. I mean, Unfair Stamp, basically. And essentially you can start Iono's boss spamming, because you have bosses as the boss and you have Red Stamp card as the Iono. I think I said that correctly, hopefully. Anyway, so its identity is more so just making the game difficult for your opponent to play. So if you have a Hero's Cape on your Zoroark and you're playing against Dragapult, right? If they swing into that Zoroark, they are going to die next turn, and they know that. And the worst part about it is that they have to swing into it again to kill it. It's not like they can finish it off with damage counters because it still has like 7 billion health, right? Because of the Hero's Cape. And if they don't swing into it, well, now you just still have a full HP 380 Zoroark that's going to just swing at your opponent's Pokemon, right? And it makes the game very difficult for your opponent to kind of piece together their prize map. And that's something that Zoroark loves doing, is kind of messing up your opponent's prize map. Because you also have things like Yveltal. Yveltal is also really good at screwing up your opponent's prize map, and is one of those cards that ties in really well with Zoroark in its identity of making your opponent make mistakes, and making your opponent have to think a lot more about their board and be conscious about what they're actually putting down. It means they can't just slap down a Latias if they don't play other switch cards. Because, well, I can Yveltal trap that guy and keep him there for as long as I want. Not really, probably like, what, 5 turns until he dies? I think it's like that. Something like that. Like 5, 6 turns, 6 or 7 turns until he dies. But the best part about it is that you can do it against a lot of decks. A lot of decks will sometimes overbench a little bit too early, and then they'll struggle to find a way to get dudes out of the active, right? I have a really good example of this in the last video. For example, my opponent got a little bit too aggressive, and I was very far behind, but Yveltal came in clutch and I won the game, right? Yveltal is a really good get-out-of-jail-free card, and it's also a card that helps you win matchups that you really weren't supposed to, such as the Festival Lead. It's not like a perfect answer, but it's enough of an answer where I think that matchup is, like, winnable. It's probably, like, 40-60 still in their favor, because they have ways to switch. In fact, that deck has the most ways to switch, because they play Kieran for the damage modifier, but they also have the switch, so it's, like, kind of annoying. But it is still winnable, right? I beat it at a cup, albeit it was 1-1, so we tied, but in my mind, that one game was worth a lot more, right? And on top of that, the Yveltal is really supplemented by other cards in your deck, such as the Monkey Dory and the Perkaround, right? This little triangle that I talk about, if you guys have the guide, you know what I'm talking about. With you bring the Yveltal up into the active with the poison, you then take poison every single turn, you trap something in the active, and since your Yveltal is taking poison damage every single turn, use your Monkey Dory to move that damage off of your Yveltal onto something else. And essentially it's like a tiny little Phantom Dive every turn, and slowing the game down while you reestablish your board state and start trading away those worst cards like those Buddy Puffins. Like we said, you know, you play 4 Buddy Puffins, but if you only use 1, you have 3 dead cards. But the nice thing about Zoroark and its trade ability, instead of something like Dragapult and its Recon Directive ability, is that it thins the deck every single turn, right? Whenever you use Recon Directive from Dracloak, it's taking a card it's taking 2 cards from top of your deck, putting 1 to your hand, and then putting the other one back to the bottom of your deck, right? If you get Unfair Stamp the following turns, you still have those same cards. Even though you don't want that card that went to the bottom of your deck, you still have the same chance of drawing into it. Whereas Trade gets rid of something in your hand that you don't want, such as a Buddy Puffin, and then adds 2 new cards. So now we can take those Buddy Puffins that, you know, were already useless and just get rid of them, right? We just skadoosh. We can get rid of them with Trade or something like Ultra Ball, right? We have ways to thin these worse cards from our hand into the discard pile, which is just a massive plus that Zoroark has that not many other decks do. And that gets me to our point, right? Zoroark has a draw engine. Zoroark's draw engine is Trade, obviously, but it has more than just Trade. We have Pheasantipity as well, and if we are behind, we can start building up an even stronger board with the Yveltal. We can trap something, like I said, and start rebuilding the Zoroarks to get more of a draw engine on board. And the nice thing about Zoroark's Trade is that it's very aggressive, and that's why our identity is a deck that tries to disrupt our opponent's like game plan, and also be very aggressive and punish them for having these, you know, more difficult to decipher turns where we can just go, haha, boss KO. And they have to be like, well, I need a Crispin to my Dragapult, but if I Crispin, I can't boss. And if I can't boss, I have to Phantom Dive into your 300 HP Zoroark, which means I'm going to die next turn, and I don't have a Dragapult established for next turn either, so I'm going to have to do this exact same thing next turn. The Dragapult matchup is incredibly free. I played it like against it at a cup, against probably one of the best Dragapult players in our region. It was a blowout. I was playing open hand with him in the finals of a cup. Yeah.